Okay, I'm here with Kristina Sherk to talk about her classes for the upcoming Photoshop Virtual Summit 5. Thanks so much for jumping in to talk a little bit about your classes.
Happy to do it. Yeah, there's a lot of changes that have happened recently in Photoshop, so we really want to make sure that we cover everything that's new and get you guys all up to speed super fast so that you guys can start using these amazing tools.
Right. And speaking of that, one of the classes you're doing is an overview of all the AI technology along with some tips and tricks. So tell us a little bit about what that class is going to entail.
Sure. So for that class, we are going to talk about not necessarily like the overview of it, because I know that a couple other people are going to be speaking on this topic as well. But I'm gonna like boil it down to the tips and tricks. So when something wasn't working for me with generative fill, this is what I did to change my approach, and it got me better results. So any tips that I can do like that, I am going to put in this class for you. I'm trying to boil down. I just filmed a 3.5-hour masterclass on AI. So I'm trying to boil that down to get you all the most important things. And I'm going to put that into my Photoshop Virtual Summit class for you. And so you'll get a chance to just have this wealth of knowledge right there in this 45 minutes.
Now, one of the challenges that I know I've encountered when I'm working with some things like generative fill is when you're trying things out, you get a great result, but then when it's time to record the class, you might not get the same results. So how do you have some examples to show of things that have worked for you before?
Yeah. So I'll give you guys a little preview. One of the tips that I'm going to talk about is actually the size and shape of the selection that you make. Supposedly it's not supposed to matter, but I find that it makes the difference for sure for me. So if you're looking for, a certain type of hat, if you put in the shape of the hat that you're looking for, you're going to get closer hats to what you're thinking of and imagining in your head, even though you put the same prompt word in of hat.
Right. Cool. Well, I'm sure everyone will look forward to that, because we have a number of classes on the new technology here and there and viewed from different perspectives. So one that covers the things you've discovered, the tips to get better results, is going to be very useful for sure. So that's fantastic. And your other class is, people are going to love this one, I'm sure. I know I'm looking forward to it. Frequency separation explained, finally. So tell us about that one.
Sure. So don't make the same mistakes I did by avoiding frequency separation for the first 10 years of your retouching career. Please learn from my mistakes. I am going to dive deep into explaining why we use frequency separation and what it does and what the values are and how it can change, how it can easily mitigate issues that would take hours upon hours previously. So once you understand how to divide your image into texture and color, it makes your retouching so much easier, because if you have big problems with the color, but you don't want to affect the texture, you're able to make those huge changes in seriously 2% of the time that it used to take, 5% of the time that it used to take. So I'm really excited to explain it. And that's what I'm going to spend the bulk of the class explaining, is what it is, because once you grasp the concept, it's really revolutionary in what you can do with it. You can iron clothing. You can, get rid of inconsistencies. You can use it for hair. You can use it for skin. There are so many different skills or applications for this one specific skill. Right. And so that's what I want to kind of show. I'm also going to use a different method, frequency separation 2.0. So if you're familiar with frequency separation with Gaussian blur, we're going to change that up. We're not going to use that. And you'll see why.
So someone who has heard of it but never used it, this is a class that they'll benefit, sort of a 101 type of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. I am going to spend a lot of time explaining why you do this. Sure. So that it's not just do these steps and then you can do this. I need you to understand why on earth we need to divide the color and texture from our images.
Right.
And once you do, you'll understand that you can apply that to everything. I also go in depth a lot about the proper radius value for splitting your image between color and texture. Because if you don't understand that, or if you just say, oh, well, you know, Christy used it for at 2.3 in this image, so I'm going to use it on all my images as a radius of 2.3. You're not going to understand, and you're not going to grasp it, and you're not going to be able to make it work for you. So
yeah, that's so important, because I remember years ago watching someone teach a class. I think it was on using unsharp mask, and they just would say, put a value of 1 or put a value of 2. And I'm like, but how do you know that? And what if my image is bigger than yours? And so going into the why behind it is such an important part of this type of technology, for sure.
I might integrate, like, now that you've said that, I might integrate into the class like an image of 300 DPI and an image of 72 DPI of the same image, and run frequency separation at the same radius on both of those, and show that when you have maybe not the same image, because that might confuse people, but two different images, right? One low res, one high res, use the same radius and show that it doesn't work the same way.
Right. Well, there you go. Important thing to talk about, for sure. So that's fantastic. Thank you again for taking this time, and thanks again for being a part of the 5th, can you believe it, Photoshop Virtual Summit.
I'm happy to be here. Every time I get an email from Dave, I'm like, "Ooh, what's next?" It's really exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I do have a bonus class that I am going to throw in for anybody who is a VIP, who buys the VIP pass. You know, every year I sit by my computer and I watch these summits as if I'm there learning with you. And I can't tell you, you're not going to, there's no way you can grasp the amount of knowledge that comes through in that week if you just watch it live. And at the price point that it is, especially during the early bird sale, it's such a no-brainer to purchase these. But for me, what I'm going to be giving to the VIP members is a bonus class. It's called like Between the Layers. And I was kind of thinking of like Between Two Ferns, you know, that show.
Right.
Is it with Will Ferrell or Zach Galifianakis? I can't remember.
That's Galifianakis, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Between the Layers, we're going to talk about how I create one of my fantastical composites with my kids using AI. And so I won't go into like, we're not going to do it together because that would take over an hour, but I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you the prompts and what I did layer by layer. And then you'll be able to see what I created.
Awesome. Sounds fantastic. Well, thanks again for taking a few minutes to talk about your sessions.
I'm thrilled to, happy to. And I can't wait to see you all there.
All right. Sounds good.